some sections in the Quran are a little bit shorter, like the one we saw previously was only 3 verses, but there were a little bit longer verses. This section, section 18, is from verse 116 to 126. So 116 to 126, how many verses is that?
10.
I hear 10. 11. It's a trick question. Anyone who's in computer science made this mistake several times when you're coding. All right, so it's actually 11 because you count the 116 and you count the 126. You know, when you say 1 to 10, you're counting the 1 and the 10, but you're not saying 0 to 10. 0 to 10 is how many numbers? 11. It's a trick question. Many people make this mistake. So it's 11 verses. So we left off at verse 118. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, after A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem, La'anahu Allah. Allah has cursed him. We're talking about Shaitan. Because Shaitan rebelled against Allah and did not want to do what Allah told him. How do we know that it's talking about Shaitan? What if the him is referring to somebody else? How can you tell? Okay, so one, this is good. One is that in other verses in the Quran, Allah says that He's cursed Shaitan, but He's cursed other people too. How do we know it's talking about Shaitan and not somebody else? There's a secret technique that scholars have. If you go to and study tafsir and you study all of these different subjects and everything, you will learn this technique that I'm going to show you today. See, Allah has cursed him. So to find out who the him is referring to, this special technique is you go back to the previous verse. And that's all it is. And it says right there, actually they're just praying to a rebellious shaitan marida. So it just says in the previous verse, I was kidding. It says in the previous verse, it's talking about shaitan. So the next verse continues talking about shaitan. Not a difficult technique. But sometimes if we don't know what something is saying, like Jabir said, sometimes you look somewhere else in the Quran. Sometimes you look at the verse before, or you look at the verse after, it gives you your answer. Very simple. So Allah has cursed him, meaning Allah has cursed Shaitan. وَقَالَ لَأَتَّخِذَنَّ مِنْ عِبَادِكَ نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا. He had said, this is Shaitan, when he was getting kicked out of heaven, for sure I will take a specific portion of your servants. Right? Where is he going to take them? To Jahannam. He's going to take them to the hellfire. So Iblis, Shaitan, was so confident that he said, I know I'm going to get some of these. I'm going to get some of your human beings that you've created, for sure. And I'm going to mislead them, and I'm going to make sure that they come with me to Jahannam. They're going to be on the wrong path, just like me. Does that mean he's going to get all of them? No. Does it mean he's going to get none of them? No. He's going to get some, and he's like, I'm happy with the portion. You know, some people, they're happy with just a little bit. They don't need to get everything. And as long as they get nothing, as long as they don't get nothing, they're okay with that. So this is Shaitan. This is the way he thinks. That's why Allah had cursed him. So it's coming back and saying, you know what? Don't follow this guy. It was talking about don't follow the guy who is going to get you to worship idols. And what type of idols was it talking about in the previous verse? Anyone remember? Yeah. Huh? Cow? No, it wasn't cow. It was a gender of idols. What type of idols? Female idols, that's right. So they were talking about female idols. وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ. This is Shaitan continuing to speak. I will mislead them and trick them with false hopes. So when Shaitan was talking to Allah, who's he? He's talking to Allah. He's saying, Allah, I will misguide these human beings of yours. Away from what? Away from the path of truth. They're not going to follow the truth. This group that he's talking about. And I'm going to trick them with false hopes. False hopes so that they end up doing lots of sins and they end up going to the hellfire. What is a false hope? So a false hope, perfect example of a false hope is fentanyl. Who's heard of fentanyl? Raise your hand if you've heard of fentanyl. Anyone? Anyone else? Okay, not so many. More, I guess, more homeschool people. Who's heard of cocaine? Okay, more people have heard of cocaine than fentanyl. Okay, at least you know about cocaine. These drugs, they give you a promise that you're going to feel good. They give you the hope that when you take them, you're going to feel really good. And you do feel good for a little while, and then you feel absolutely horrible. It's almost like eating something. It's like eating poison that has chocolate all around it. And you're like, you know what? This chocolate bar, which has poison inside, by the way, this chocolate bar is the best chocolate bar you've ever had. Does anyone like chocolate here? Because I love chocolate. Okay, imagine it's the best. What's your favorite chocolate bar? Let's get some real quick. Just throw it. What's your favorite chocolate? Lindor, Hershey's. Anyone? Ghirardelli. Any others? Ghirardelli? Lindor. Lindt. Okay. So imagine one of those, your favorite chocolate, and it's got a little bit of poison inside in the middle. And you're like, you know what? You eat it, and it tastes so good when you're eating it. So that the hope is, man, this is going to taste really good. Afterwards, after like 10 minutes, you start choking. You fall on the floor, and you're like completely messed up. So that is exactly what shaitan does. Shaitan will lace or like put on the outside whatever you're not supposed to do in Islam. He's going to make it look like it's so nice and sweet and good tasting and comfortable and everything. And then when you go and you do it, the haram thing, then you realize later on how bad and how harmful it really is. So this is what Allah is mentioning. This is what shaitan is saying. He's telling you how he's going to trick you. Shaitan is not going to come and be like, hey, here's this bitter, disgusting poison tablet. You should really try it. And you're like, I don't want that. What he's going to do, he's going to coat it in the best chocolate you've ever had in your life, and then he's going to present it to you. And he's saying this. This is shaitan speaking. He's telling you his strategy. This is like exactly what he's going to do. So he's telling us how he's going to lead people astray. وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. He says, I'm going to order them. Meaning, them. Who is them referring to? His subjects. Which race? Which? Human beings. He's talking about humans, right? Because he's trying to mislead the humans. So I'm going to order these human beings, these people that I don't like and I want to mislead. I'm going to order them, and they're going to listen to me, basically, and they're going to slit the ears of livestock. Now, what is livestock? Livestock could be camels, sheep, goats. What else is there? I said camels. There's a third one, cows, right? So these are the main categories of livestock. So he's saying, I'm going to make them slit the ears of these animals. Now, why is he saying that? Because the idol worshippers in the past, they used to dedicate the idols, the animal to their idol, and they used to mention the name of the idol over the animal. Instead of saying like Bismillah, in the name of Allah, they would say like in the name of this idol over here. And when they do that, they would actually cut the ear of that animal to show that this animal has got a special dua from the idol. And it's like a special animal now because it got like the blessing of this idol or whatever it is. So who is giving them this idea? Shaitan. Now shaitan is giving them this idea. And then he says, and I will get them to alter Allah's creation. I'm going to get them to change the creation of Allah. Now, who are we talking about? So one, it's doing that to animals. So an animal, normally, like a camel or a goat or a sheep, they're born with ears. Now, if you come and you slice part of its ear off, is that how Allah made it? No. You went and you changed the way that Allah has created these animals. Now, what if you do that? You're doing that to animals. You could even do that to human beings. So some people, in some societies, they'll come and they're like, okay, people are normally born with 2 ears. We're going to come and we're going to slice off part of your earlobe. Do people do that? They do. Why do they do it? For many, many different reasons. One thing that they used to do is, in the past, they used to castrate slaves. Now, if someone was a slave, a male slave, they would cut off their private parts, right? And this is really bad, right? This is going to affect them and the hormone levels and all of these other things. But this was something that used to be done. They would also, people would also mutilate part of their own bodies. So there is this, who's heard of the Amazon nation? Not Amazon.com, okay? But Amazon, the Amazon people. Who's heard of the Amazon people? Okay, you probably heard of it in history class or something. They're like a historical group of people. So the Amazon people, there are a lot of stories about them, and it's not just a legend. There's actually some historical truth to this. That there was a specific, in the origin of when the Amazon people were developing, there was a group of women who were captured. And they were captured, and they were very upset with their conditions because they had become slaves. They lost in a battle, in a war. Many of the men were killed. So what they decided to do was, these were like the first extreme feminists like ever. This group of women came along, and they said, we're going to dominate all of these men, and we're going to become warriors, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So what they started doing was, they started having children, and any male baby that was born, they would kill the male babies. And the opposite. Now, yeah, like Fir'aun, right? The opposite of the Arabs. So the Arabs, when they would have a female baby, they would bury it alive and kill it. These ones would do the opposite. They say, we want to have more women in our society. So they would kill off all the male babies, and they would, if they're females, they would raise the females to be warriors. And one of the things that they would do is that they would take the right breast of these girls, and they would burn it off or cut it off. Now, why would they do that? They would do it because they wanted to teach them archery, and they wanted to be really good at fighting. So this would actually supposedly help them somehow being able to shoot an arrow better, so the breast wouldn't get in the way. But they would keep the other one. Why would they keep the other one? So they can breastfeed, exactly. So because they're going to have children, and they're going to still breastfeed. They didn't have formula back then. So this is one of the practices that they would regularly engage in. This is a perfect example of changing the creation of Allah. So when it comes to animals, changing the creation of Allah for no reason whatsoever. And when it comes to humans, changing the creation of Allah, even though it's for a purpose, Allah has made you this way, you don't mutilate your body. What's happening today is, sadly, people are doing even more than this. People are, sometimes when they claim that, you know what, I'm a boy, but I want to be a girl. They'll go and they'll make cuts to their body, or they'll get a surgery done or something like that, and they'll cut off different parts, or they'll modify different parts of their body. I just presented on this, in Texas, this, over the weekend, to a group of scholars. This is becoming a problem. Now, it falls in the category of what Shaitan said, this is how I'm going to trick people. I'm going to trick them by giving them false hopes. I'm going to trick them by putting the chocolate over the poison, like I was mentioning. And I'm going to trick them by changing the creation of Allah and getting them to change the creation of Allah. And that's what's happening. Whether it comes to cutting off part of your body, or injecting different type of hormones in your body, or getting a tattoo. You see, if you get one of those kids' tattoos, and it's like it comes off in a few days, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Is it okay or is it not okay? It's okay. If you get a henna tattoo, is it okay? It's okay because it's going to go away. It's not permanent. But if you get a tattoo where the ink is going to be injected inside of your skin, and it's going to remain permanently throughout most of your life or all of your life, that is something that is forbidden by the Prophet ﷺ. It's forbidden in Islam. Why is it forbidden in Islam? Because Allah didn't make you that way. That was not part of your skin. So this is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning us, that this is what Shaitan said he's going to do, and this is exactly what people are doing nowadays. So we need to be very careful about that. وَمَن يَتَّخِذِ الشَّيْطَانَ وَلِيًّا مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ خَسِرَ خُسْرَانًا مُبِينًا. Whoever takes shaitan as a supporter instead of Allah has suffered a clear loss in life, and they're going to be going to the hellfire. So that is a problem in and of itself. Huge problem. وَيَعِدُهُمْ وَيُمَنِّيهِمْ. Shaitan, but shaitan makes them promises, but they're false promises. And he tricks them with false hopes. Just like thinking that thing is going to taste sweet, but actually it's going to end up hurting you later on. وَمَا يَعِدُهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا. Shaitan promises them nothing but delusion. So shaitan promises you something that you think is going to be good and helps you, but it's actually not there. Like if you look at a mirage. If you mirage, you look very far in the distance, and it looks like there's water. And you go closer, there's no water. Now imagine you're lost in the desert, and you're looking for water. And you look really far, and you're like, it looks like there's water over there. And then you walk over there, and you realize you walked, you lost all of this energy, and there is no water over there. The mirage is a delusion. It's a deception. It's like a trick that your eyes played on you and the atmosphere played on you. That is exactly what happens when it comes to shaitan's temptations and the ideas that he presents to you. أُولَٰئِكَ مَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمْ. Those people, ones who get tricked, their home will be hell. وَلَا يَجِدُونَ عَنْهَا مَحِيصًا. They will find no escape from it. So once you're there, you cannot get out of the hellfire. No one will be able to find a way to get out, even if they want to, right? Unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, due to their iman, takes them out. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ سَنُدْخِلُهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا. Those who believe and do good, we will let them into gardens underneath which rivers flow, and they will stay there forever. What's this place with the gardens and there's rivers there? What's that place called? Jannah. It's called paradise. Okay? وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقًّا. Allah's promise is true. Now see the contrast here? Was shaitan's promise true? No. He gives you amani. He gives you false promises. Allah's promise is the opposite. It is the true promise. When something is going to be good, it is going to end up being good. وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ قِيلًا. Whose words can be more truthful than Allah's? That's a rhetorical question. Meaning you're not supposed to really answer it. But if you were going to answer it, what's the answer? Nobody. Right? Nobody's word could ever be more truthful than Allah, so you never should doubt it at all. If Allah says that if you believe and you do good, you go to Jannah, believe in Jannah. Be sure that there is Jannah, and be sure that Allah is going to give it to you if you do what you're supposed to be doing. لَيْسَ بِأَمَانِيِّكُمْ وَلَا أَمَانِيِّ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ. The promise of paradise is talking about the previous promise. It's not by your wishes. It's not by the wishes of the people of the book. Who are the people of the book? Somebody tell me on this side. Some sister on this side, please tell me. Who are the Ahlul Kitab? Who are the people of the book? Yes. Islam, Christianity, and Jews? Judaism, yes. Okay, so it's talking primarily about the Jews and the Christians, yes. They are the people of the book. مَن يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا يُجْزَ بِهِ وَلَا يَجِدْ لَهُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَلِيًّا وَلَا نَصِيرًا. Whoever does wrong will be accountable for that, and they will find no protector or helper besides Allah. So now Allah is explaining what is the criteria of accountability. Right, what's going to happen, and how do you get to Jannah, and how do you save yourself from the hellfire? This is it. It's not about what people want. So the people of the book, in a nutshell, what is the most important thing for the Jews in order for you to get to paradise? What is the most important thing that you need to have to get to paradise? You need to be Jewish. What does that mean? Jewish by blood. Exactly, Jewish by blood. And what's the number one thing the Christians say that you have to have in order to get to paradise? You have to believe that Jesus died on the cross for your sins. So Allah is saying it's not by this criteria that they're hoping for. This is what they want. They say, you know what they want? These are the two main criteria that's going to get you into paradise. It's not based on what they want. The way in which you get into Jannah or you get into the hellfire, it's talking about, Allah is going to decide that. And Allah's criteria is going to be, whoever does wrong, they're going to be accountable. And they're going to be in big trouble. So this is the way you get into hellfire. And then he talks about the way you get into Jannah. وَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِنَ الصَّالِحَاتِ مِن ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنثَى وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ. Whoever does good, whether male or female, and is a believer, will enter paradise, will enter Jannah. That's really important to focus here. Whoever does good. So the previous one talks about whoever does whoever does wrong, whoever does bad things, they're going to be in trouble for that, meaning they're going to be on their way to hellfire. How do you get to Jannah? Whoever does good is opposite of doing bad. But then Allah clarifies two more points. Point number one is whether male or female. So, can I suggest that it's probably best we don't do the chair jumping competition during the Quran class? Can we do that, please? All right. Are your parents here by chance? Can I ask the parents to keep the Quran, or the chair jumping class to a different location, please? All right. All right. So whoever does good, whether male or female, which means that the males and the females are spiritually equal. Male does good, and the female does good, and it's the exact same. It's going to be the same reward. Female does evil, a male does evil. It's the same. They're going to get the same sin and the same punishment. So there's no difference when it comes to that level of accountability. That's very important because this is being said 1400 years ago, where people did not have this conception. They had an opposite conception. And today this is becoming a problem too. وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ, and is a believer. So it's not enough to just do good. You have to be a believer as well. If you do that, فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ, those people will enter paradise. Extra wow needs to be removed. وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ نَقِيرًا. They will not be wronged even a speck. Nobody will be wronged. So it just talked about in the previous verse, the people who do any bad. Talked about here, anyone who does good. And no one will be wronged. Meaning, if you did bad, okay, Allah can forgive you by His mercy. Or He's going to hold you accountable, but He's not going to hold you accountable for more than you did. There is no, you did one sin, we're going to count it as 5. And no one will be wronged when it comes to the good that they do. How could you be wronged in the good that you do? If you do one full good deed, He said, we're going to give you half credit. If it's a proper good deed, you will get the good deed or more. So you get extra credit. But you will never get less than what you deserve. That is the mercy of Allah and the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ دِينًا مِّمَّنْ أَسْلَمَ وَجْهَهُ لِلَّهِ وَهُوَ مُحْسِنٌ وَاتَّبَعَ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. Who is better in faith than those who submit themselves to Allah? 1. Do good. 2. And follow the way of Ibrahim, who was the upright. Follow the way of Prophet Ibrahim. He was known as Hanifa. Hanifa, maybe there's a better translation than upright. It means basically he did all the stuff that he was supposed to be doing. وَاتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ خَلِيلًا. Allah chose Ibrahim as a close friend. Now the word Khalil means a very, very close friend. What does it mean that Ibrahim is the friend of Allah? Well, if you have a friend, you have a care and a love for them. That you're close to them. You have a trust in them as well. That you know what? If you ask your friend to do something, they're gonna do it for you. So I want you to really do this for me. You know that hey, you can trust them. Jazakumullah khair, thank you. You know that you can trust them and they're gonna get this thing done. Now Ibrahim earned the trust of Allah. And he earned the love of Allah. I mean, he deserved the love. I mean, he don't deserve it, but I mean, what he did, whenever Allah told him to do something, he did it. And he did it exactly the way he was supposed to do it. Ibrahim is the A+ student, right? He's the A+ student, and if someone is always the A+ student, the teacher is going to love them. And the teacher is going to trust them as well. If I ever give this person an assignment, he's going to handle it because he's the A+ student or she's the A+ student. So that's what Ibrahim is being described with this characteristic. وَلِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. To Allah belongs what is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُحِيطًا. Allah is fully aware of everything. So Allah knows everything that happens, will happen, and is happening right now. If you look at both verses, one of the scholars, he put it very nicely. He says, both of these verses combined, or both of these parts of the verse combined together, it basically explains that Allah controls everything and Allah knows everything. And that's how the section ends. All right, so we'll load the Kahoot and I'll take questions in the meantime, inshallah. So who has questions before we get to our default question guy? Anyone? Nobody? Okay, Jabir, you're up. Spiritually equal. What's that? It's referring to the fact that they're different in their position and what they're gonna do in society. But we're talking about spiritually equal. Yeah. Seems. Any cookies? Right after you ask about men and women being equal, you just jump to the cookies. Mashallah. Are there cookies? Are there cookies? Yes, there are cookies. And there's milk too. Why didn't you ask about the milk first? Why did you ask about the cookies first? So, does anyone know if Isha is changing next week? Is changing on Sunday? It is? Yeah? Okay, then we got to change the time next week to 7. We'll change to 7, inshallah. Okay. Ready to load? Yeah. We're about to load. Start the Kahoot. Crispy Kareem. Nice. Today there's only 3 questions. All right. 10 seconds.